The other person who doesn't get it, of course, is Nigel Farage. He wraps himself in our flag, but his policies don't match British values. We must call his scheme to round up and deport our French, our Indian, our Caribbean neighbours who already have indefinite leave to remain what it is. It is racist. I say not in our country, not in our name, not in our time.
The man who just doesn't get it, Nigel Farage. He wraps himself in the Union Jack, sells himself as the champion of Britishness, yet his policies? They cut directly against the values we claim to hold as a nation. His proposal to round up and deport neighbors from France, India, the Caribbean, people who already earned indefinite leave to remain here, isn't patriotism. It's prejudice dressed as politics. And we should call it what it is. Racism. And then came David Lammy. With just 7 words, Britain's Deputy Prime Minister may have detonated his entire career. On live camera, he compared Nigel Farage to the Hitler Youth. What followed was nothing short of political carnage. This wasn't just a gaffe. This wasn't one careless remark. This was the moment the immigration debate in Britain exploded into full-blown chaos and the mask slipped off the establishment in real time. By the end of this video, you'll see why Labour's strategy is collapsing before our very eyes, why millions of voters are angrier than ever, and why one reckless attack might reshape British politics for years. So buckle in. If you're sick of politicians lying, smearing, and rewriting the rules when they're losing, hit subscribe right now. Because what you're about to hear is the biggest political backpedal Britain has seen in decades. It started at what should have been a routine press conference. Cameras lined up, journalists waiting, the usual theater. Then came the question, direct, unavoidable: do you think Nigel Farage is racist? Most politicians would dodge that like the plague. They'd deflect, change the subject, give a carefully rehearsed non-answer about focusing on policy over personality. Not David Lammy. Lammy decided to go nuclear. He claimed Nigel Farage had flirted with the Hitler Youth back in his school days. Let that sink in. The Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, second most powerful man in government, went full Nazi comparison on record, on camera. The reaction? Instant chaos. Social media exploded. Even journalists who usually hand Labour a free pass were stunned. Did he really just say that? Here's the thing, in British politics, you don't casually invoke Hitler. You don't pull the Nazi card unless you've got ironclad evidence. It's the nuclear option, and once launched, there's no rewind button. It insults history, cheapens the suffering of millions, and politically, it's suicide. But here's the twist. Farage barely blinked. He dismissed it as total nonsense and carried on with his day. Because Nigel Farage understands something the establishment never seems to grasp: every smear, every attack, every attempt to bury him only fuels his fire. It proves his entire point that the establishment has no real arguments left. Just fear, desperation, and smears. And the public sees it. They see the panic. They see the smear tactics. And they start asking, if Farage is really so wrong, why won't they just debate him? Why the constant character assassinations? But the real story isn't Lammy's insult. It's what happened in the next 48 hours. Dragged back in front of the cameras, Lammy's confidence had evaporated. The swagger was gone. His tone had shifted from righteous fury to sheer desperation. Farage has denied it, and I accept his denial. I'd like to clarify my position. Clarify. Westminster Code 4, I just stepped on a landmine, and now I'm praying it doesn't blow up my career. Then came the real jaw-dropper. Lammy admitted, I wasn't at school with Nigel Farage. I don't know what songs he sang. Wait, what? He accused a political opponent of Nazi sympathies, invoked one of the darkest stains on human history, and based it on what? Rumors. Hearsay. Things he couldn't verify. This is the Deputy Prime Minister of Britain. And he confessed, on camera, to hurling one of the gravest accusations possible with zero evidence. The arrogance is staggering. The recklessness, breathtaking. But the backpedal didn't stop there. Enter Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister himself, dragged into the fallout. Reporters asked him the same question: is Nigel Farage racist? And his answer shook British politics to its core. No, I do not believe Nigel Farage is racist. Nor do I believe Reform UK voters are racist. They are concerned about our borders. Read that again. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said Nigel Farage is not racist. And neither are the millions of people voting for reform. They're just worried about immigration. This is a political earthquake. For years, Labour MPs branded reform voters as dangerous, xenophobic, even bigoted. Every concern about borders was framed as extremism. And now Starmer himself admits they're not racists at all. Just ordinary people with legitimate concerns. That clip will haunt Labour until the next election. Reform UK will play it in every campaign video. Even Keir Starmer admits we're not racist. So why does Labour keep smearing us? With one statement, Labour's entire strategy collapsed. And then, as if things couldn't get worse, came the Trump moment. Days later, Starmer was asked about the US president's claim that London was sliding into Sharia law. The reporter pressed him, was that racist? Starmer's response? I'm not going to start deciding whether what other people say is racist. Excuse me, what? When it's Nigel Farage, a domestic opponent, Labour hurls Nazi comparisons. But when it's Donald Trump, suddenly it's no comment? That double standard drives people insane. One rule for opponents, another for allies. Attack your rival, protect the powerful. The hypocrisy is crystal clear, and voters are done with it. Meanwhile, Farage warned that Labour's reckless rhetoric was not just dishonest, but dangerous. He pointed out that branding millions of voters as racist or dangerous creates real-world risks for reform activists. And he's right. Britain has already witnessed political violence. We've seen the tragic murder of Joe Cox. We've seen campaigners attacked. Words carry weight. Comparing voters to Nazis paints a target on their backs. When leaders casually smear, they hand extremists a moral excuse for violence. And Labour has been playing with fire. But while all eyes were locked on Lammy's meltdown and Starmer's backpedal, Labour quietly rolled out something even more sinister: plans for a mandatory digital ID system. The pitch? Security. Stopping illegal work. But critics call it what it is: surveillance creep. An authoritarian step toward monitoring ordinary citizens, while the real border crisis goes unresolved. Think about the pattern. Smear anyone who questions immigration. Fail to secure the border. Get caught lying. Backpedal. Then introduce sweeping new powers to monitor the very citizens raising concerns. Nigel Farage warned years ago this would happen. That the establishment would strip away freedoms while never fixing the root problem. And now, we're watching it unfold in real time. From Yorkshire to Cornwall, Scotland to Wales, the mood is shifting. People are finished. Done with the smears. Done with being called racist for wanting borders that work. Done with politicians who panic when cornered and backtrack when exposed. David Lammy thought one smear would destroy Nigel Farage. Instead, he may have handed Reform UK its most powerful weapon. Nothing unites people faster than being unfairly attacked by the establishment. And when the Prime Minister himself admits those voters aren't racist? That isn't just vindication. It's a revolution in the making. Lammy is now fighting for his political survival. Starmer is scrambling to keep his party from imploding. And Nigel Farage? He's standing back, watching the entire Westminster machine crumble under the weight of its own hypocrisy. This isn't just another Westminster scandal. This isn't just another bad news cycle. This is the moment the immigration debate cracked wide open, when Labour's long-standing strategy collapsed in plain sight, and when millions of Britons realized they were right all along. Because when governments smear their people, then backpedal, when they shout racism one day and deny it the next, when they fail to fix the border but push digital IDs to track citizens, you know what happens? They lose the people. And when governments lose the people, they lose everything. This story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. The next few months will decide whether Labour survives this mess or whether we're witnessing the first stage of their collapse. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Can David Lammy survive this scandal, or has he already destroyed Labour's credibility for good? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.